Welcome to episode 108 of the Thunder Underground podcast. My name's Trent. I'm joined by Jason, and we got a lot of stuff to talk about this week.
We do. It's another jam-packed episode.
Yeah, jam-packed to greatness.
Of course.
We've got Oskar Cedermalm from the Truckfighters here.
Yes.
Bassist and vocalist, original founding member of the Truckfighters. And if you don't know about the Truckfighters, you got to look them up. If you're into anything in the stoner realm or the, just even, classic rock like Thin Lizzy or something. Definitely. I think you could find stuff in the Truckfighters that you'd love. They call themselves desert rock, but they fall safely into that same area. If you like the Sword or Clutch, I think you would like the Truckfighters as well.
No doubt. They're fuzzy. They embrace their fuzziness.
Yes.
And you will get your trucks fought. There's no doubt. This band is great. Great.
Yeah. We saw them live. Great time. Talk about all that here in just a bit. Well, before we do, we had our first week this past week on WSNR 102.7. Check them out. It's 1027WSNR.com. Download the Crikey premium radio app. There's tons of radio stations on there, but this is a great radio station. I've listened to it several times at work, and we're happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, it went great, and this one will be up there too, and it's just another outlet to tune in.
Yeah, definitely. So check them out. If you found us due to that, we appreciate it. If you're here because you're a Truckfighters fan, we appreciate it. If you listen every week, we appreciate it.
Exactly.
Come back next week for 109. Well, first things first, this past weekend was day one of Holata Fest.
Yes.
The first annual Holata Fest, which leads us to believe that this will be a yearly event, which I sure hope so, because it was, without sounding corny, it was a magical effing day.
It really was. It really was. And John Holata definitely deserves an annual event.
Right.
In this town. And, and hopefully some of these bands, will just keep going further and further and help get his name out there, because more people should know about this guy. And it was a great tribute show. I personally, honestly, I've never had so many hugs and handshakes and smiles and laughs in one night in my life. I mean, I felt more love and positivity than I feel from my own family sometimes.
Yeah.
In that night. I mean, it was exactly, I think, what you said, it's exactly how it should have been. And it really was. I mean, the vibe was outstanding. Everybody was in great spirits. Everybody was smiling and hugging, and the bands were just out of this world. I mean, it was a night I'd like to live over and over. It really was.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah, if you're not from this area and you're not familiar with John, he's the guitarist for Screaming Red Mutiny and the Joint Effect. And he passed away on Christmas Day after he got hit by a drunk driver. I think it was a week before that, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, we've lost this guy that not only was a great guitarist, but a great human being. And one thing that jumped out to me, anytime anytime anyone passes, whether they be a celebrity or just some guy that has a bunch of friends on Facebook or something, you always see a bunch of people posting, oh, he was great at this. He was a practical, joker. You hear all these great things, whether or not they're true. It's great to celebrate someone's life. We want to do that, but you don't know, is that really true? Not to sound like a dick or something, but with John Holata, you never had to wonder, because everybody said all this stuff when he was here.
Yeah, definitely.
You didn't have to, come to this thing and think of something to say. You already knew all this stuff, whether you knew John Holata, closely or not.
Exactly.
And we talked about that in the early stages of this podcast, that when we started talking to people, we knew who he was because we knew the Joint Effect, but we didn't know him personally. But when we would ask people like, hey, who do you like locally, or, whatever like that, and people would say his name came up 2 or 3, 4 times in the first few weeks of us doing this.
Yeah, and his name was always the first out of everyone's mouth.
Yeah.
The first person. And that right there tells you something. It definitely tells you something.
Yeah. But like you said, the vibe of this thing, it's like, you think of like, we did that long talk, last year after we saw Iron Maiden, talking about how when we went and saw Maiden at the BOK Center in Tulsa, it was something we never thought was going to happen.
Yeah.
And it had this real old school vibe and feel to it, like you were at a rock show 20 years ago, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
It had that kind of feeling, there was a big event planned around it. And I felt that same way at this thing, and it was for different reasons, obviously. And it was because, everywhere, you turned around, like you said, you're hugging a new person that you hadn't seen yet. Mm-hmm. And every time you turn around, you saw someone you knew from, the music scene, whether it be a guy in a band or, someone just a fan.
Yeah, definitely.
A fan of these bands like we are. And it's, it just had this feeling that like, it's just hard to put in words, you don't, I mean, I'm stumbling on my words because I don't really know what to say other than it was just everything, like we said, everything that it should have been. It just felt like a tribute, but at the same time, it felt like you said family, and it felt like, there were tons of people there I've never seen in my life, but that's a great thing. The thing was packed out, and that's what I hoped would happen. And it
exactly.
did,
Yeah. I mean, the place was packed to the gills, and, yeah, there was just just something in the air.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just so positive. And, that's something you don't get all the time. And to be part of that was pretty fucking special, I gotta say.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I showed up there at 1:00 when the doors opened to drop off something, and there was already more cars in the parking lot than there are at some shows I've been there.
Exactly.
At 10:00 at night, you know?
Yeah.
And then by the time I got back, there was already, a third of the place filled. And,
mm-hmm.
By the time we got into the evening time, the place was packed out like it was for Avatar or something.
Yeah.
And it was that's exactly what should have happened.
That is exactly what should have happened. You're right.
And it's happening again this Saturday, and I hope the same thing happens. I think it will, because everybody had an amazing time. And, just talking to, not just seeing the bands, it was just an amazing feeling between the bands, talking to people.
Exactly.
And I talked to several people that I don't really know that well that I'd met through this, like Brax from Enslaved by Fear, and he was telling me stories about when he first met John, and playing shows with him and stuff, and how their bands were totally different, but John always wanted to include him on his bills, which he thought was great. And,
yeah.
I talked to Jared Taylor, who lives up in Kansas, and he's been a friend of John for several years, and we stood outside and talked for 10 or 15 minutes, and he was telling me all kinds of stuff. So it was just amazing to hear all these positive stories, about a guy that we knew, but we didn't know as close as a lot of people there. So,
yeah.
It was really a great feeling without repeating ourselves over. But,
Hey, that's okay. We're allowed on this one.
Right. Well, the first things first, you got there a little before me, and you saw Sovereign Dame. So how was that?
They were great. It was just something totally different. They had a violin, keyboards. You don't see that all the time around here. And, it was just good, it was just good rock, hard rock with, as somebody kind of mentioned, it was kind of like Clutch, and, with like a female vocalist. And, I get that a little bit. I mean, it was, I'd heard the name for a long time, and I'm glad to finally see them. They were great.
Well, we had after that, I think Enslaved by Fear was the next band.
Yes.
And I'd seen them once before quite a while back, but it's been a while. So it was really cool to see them again. And they've just, Brax has such a great stage presence, and you can tell these guys are seasoned. They've done several tours, across the nation, you know, and they're just a great band. If you love the stuff like Kill Switch or All That Remains, you'd really dig these guys and look them up, and they put on a really strong performance, and, you can't say enough good things about it.
Yeah, Brax was a great frontman. Enslaved by Fear. Check him out.
Yeah. Well, and then we had Fist of Rage.
Yes.
And we've gone on and on about how much we love these guys, as not just a band, but as, for individuals.
Yeah.
And, just another great show, from Fist of Rage.
Yeah, they killed it.
Yeah, you're going to get heavy rock power from these guys every time, or these guys and girl, and they always deliver.
That's right.
And, that's one of those bands that I'd go see every week if they played every week.
They play a lot, so now if you don't show up every time, I'm going to call you on it.
I think we've seen them a lot. I'm not, running my mouth for nothing here. Well, I don't know if I'm going out of order, but Forever and Disgust might have been next.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they were. Always got to love these guys. It's just like, it's modern metal at its finest. It's abrasive. It's intricate.
Yeah.
And
intense is another high word.
Intense. And, get your running shoes on when you put these guys in your headphones. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. They're just 5 extremely talented dudes.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I think we were talking too about Ira's drum set beforehand. It's like, it seems so minimal for that kind of metal. And I guess that just
what
goes
I love,
to show.
And that's when okay, this guy's going to kick ass.
Yeah. And the guitar parts, I know you were kind of geeking out whenever, they're doing their stuff, and it's beyond my realm of understanding, but.
Yeah, Keith and Kevin, I'm just like, how do these, I've played guitar for like most of my life. I can't even fathom what the fuck is going on. It's great. It was great. Right.
Yeah, and Kyle Williams, like I said about Brax, has such a stage presence, and owns that stage, and I love both his bands, and it's it's kind of cool. He brings a different intensity to both bands, and
that's right.
With Forever and Disgust, it's just pure on metal power, and he, of course, delivered.
That's right.
Yeah,
that is right.
And just like a lot of people, he gave his tribute to John up there, and so it was cool to see continuously throughout the night, whether it be on the mic or just in the crowd. But
yeah, everybody was talking it up for sure.
Yeah. Well, then was Dryvr next?
I think so.
Okay. So
here we go.
I'll just say I was outside talking to people. I walk in the door when I hear them start, and Heath from Severmind Center, he's like, "So when did this happen?" Yeah. He like yells at me. I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And he points at the stage, and there's Eddie Green from Even the Dogs on stage singing for Dryvr.
Yeah,
I was like, "Hey, you got me. I know as much as you do, I guess."
Yeah, that was a surprise to me. I'm the same way. I walked in. We were all outside. We heard the band start, so we walked in and looked up and went, "Holy shit!"
Right. It was funny because we saw Eddie earlier in the day and talked to him, and he had walked in with like a case, and I was like, "What's he doing? He's not in any of these bands." But I'm like, "Hey, maybe he's singing with someone. That'll be cool."
Yeah.
And because we were, like a lot of people, we were bummed whenever Even the Dogs split up.
Definitely.
And just hoped, well, maybe these guys will do something again or go on and do something else with it. And it looks like Eddie is.
Yes.
And, not just from us, but from several people around there was a buzz in there. Yeah, I think definitely is the word you used,
There was a buzz. Everybody was like, "What the fuck?" Because it was great.
And they didn't announce it beforehand, from my knowledge, or anybody else around there know.
Yeah, Eddie laid it down, definitely.
Yeah. Now, if you had told me beforehand that he was going to be up there singing for Dryvr, I would have thought, Dryvr's great, Eddie Green's great, but in my head, it doesn't really match right off.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess that's just because of the, the style of Dryvr and Even the Dogs is different. But Eddie fit perfect.
Yeah, he did.
And it almost, to me, I could be wrong, but it almost to me sounded like the band kicked it up a notch in the heaviness as well.
Yeah.
Maybe that was because, Eddie's got that, comes from that heavier realm.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a, new blood, kind of probably an invigoration type kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So this will be interesting to see where this goes. And
yeah, it was great.
Because they were working on new music, so I wonder if Eddie's going to be a part of that now or how that works.
We will see. We shall see.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll find out soon.
Yeah. Yeah.
give us a call, Mike.
Yes. We know you're listening.
Yeah. Well, Severmind is next, and this was actually Derek's birthday.
Yeah, it was.
Man, if we had them on our 100th episode, go back and listen to that. It's like a 2-hour and 20-minute odyssey.
Yeah.
And it was great. And, we had them on our 100th episode. We talked about them because they're, one band that kind of, we knew a lot of bands, locally before we started the podcast, but they're one of the bands that we kind of discovered right when we started doing this, really latched on to what they're doing. And then in turn, it worked the other way as well, because they've been big supporters of us. They've always shared our stuff and talked us up as well. And so we tried to catch them every time that they play out in this area. And, they're working on new music. I can't wait to hear it. And you can't say enough about, kind of like we said with Forever Disgust or anyone else, there's 4 guys on stage that are extremely great at what they do, and then you've got Stacy Lane that's just like tearing, setting the freaking roof on fire,
Yeah, I mean, what have we not said, that can be said? We've said it all about this band. We love this band. Because I think I made that comment. We've said their name on this podcast probably as much as Metallica. Or it's probably the word that's been on this podcast more than anyone thing except Metallica, and rightfully so. Yeah, and we had Machine in the Mountain too.
Right. So if we're gonna say, I meant to ask you this before we even started talking about bands, so I could say this, but I'll just say it now. If you had to pick one musical highlight from the night, what would it be?
Oh, there's not one you can pick.
I mean, I don't want to
That's kind of a fucked up question, man.
That is true. I don't want to
I'm kind of mad at you right now.
Try to pull anything over, whatever. But when Machine in the Mountain played Orion, that was the shit. Yeah. I'll just say it. It's like, I love these guys' original music. We've talked about them millions of times here as well. Every show they do, they play Switch 625 by Def Leppard, which is always great.
Hell yeah, it is.
But they pulled this one out, and they even kind of talked about it beforehand that they wanted to do this one special, and it, it's the type of song, it's a fitting tribute type song as well. And, Orion's one of those great instrumental metal songs, and it fit perfect with this great instrumental metal band. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was just, and they nailed it too. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, that was great. I mean, Metallica's my favorite band of all time, so I was geeking out for sure.
Right. Yeah, you can't. Machine in the Mountain's one of those bands that when I see them, I just always get that feeling kind of like we talked about with Iron Maiden. It's like you feel like, you're part of something. And every time I watch them, I feel like I'm a kid again, if that doesn't sound dorky, but, I feel like I'm 14 seeing a metal show for the first time every time I see them.
But see, that's what we do this for, right. So it's not dorky at all.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to skip a band and come back to them, obviously. But
gotcha. Yeah.
The Revolutioners.
Yeah.
This is the first time I'd seen them. Band out of Arkansas. I think they're the only band on the bill that wasn't from Oklahoma, which is, cool to have them up there. And, they had a great, just real, what's that kind of swagger rock and roll feel?
Yeah, they did. They really did.
I don't know. I can't think of someone to compare them to, but it was just like that good time, punchy rock and roll. Yeah. They played a few covers, but they were just, they had, some original stuff as well. And then we met Jonathan afterwards, the drummer, who coincidentally is also the drummer from Red Devil Lies.
That's right.
We played on last week's episode. So go check that out and listen to some of their stuff. But yeah, so it was really cool to see them. Really liked what I heard. Hope to hear more from them soon.
We will.
And this thing closed out the night with Grind. And that's another band, we've been big fans of, had them on this podcast as well. And they're another band that kind of fits that good, good time feeling hard rock. Yeah. It's got, swampiness, grittiness. It's got a modern feel. It's got a throwback feel. Dell's vocals are great. CJ got amazing riffs.
I was geeking out on CJ's Telecaster. That was awesome.
Oh, were you?
Yeah, I dug that.
Yeah. I know our buddy Jason Carroll got some cool 360 video. I saw that earlier today.
Yeah, Grind was awesome.
Yeah, that's another band you can't go wrong with. So look them up as well on Facebook.
Yeah, they're never gonna be bad. They're never gonna suck.
Right. Well, a couple bands before Grind was Screaming Red Mutiny.
Yes.
And
let's get into that.
That's kind of, where the biggest swell of people, obviously, in that whole place.
Yes.
Because, obviously, that was John's band.
Exactly.
And, where to begin, it's like, you see bands, I've seen bands, do their first performance after they lost a member or something. You can always tell people are emotional or whatever. But Screaming Red Mutiny just laid it out and didn't hide it, which is great. It's like that shows you, Sprout and Tony and Mike, had been part of with John for quite a while. And then Nick half of last year, I guess. And, all four of them, spoke, all four of them on stage, just playing their instruments and laying all that emotion out there for the world to see, which, can't be easy. But, I'm sure once that thing finished, it was probably a healing process, I would imagine.
For sure. Sure.
Getting on stage was probably hard to do it without him after they've been doing it with him for so long. And then to finish that set, I bet, was a great feeling.
Yeah.
As far as, it's not, there's never really closure, but it's like, that kind of thing that helps you move on, move along in what you're doing,
I have to imagine that there was a little bit of a weight lifted.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
After that deal. And, got to mention, there was some tears shed during that set by those guys, and rightfully so. But also, asses were kicked. They put on a great show. They went for the throat. I think Nick Mina is stepping into that slot just perfectly. So I mean, it was a stellar set. It really was.
Yeah, this band's music is just so good. It's if you haven't heard the EP Encumbered We Press, you got to.
Yeah.
There's 6 tracks on it, and every single one of them are great. It's just such a great sound, from everything, the music, the vocals, lyrically. It's just what heavy music should be.
Yeah, and, this band's going places, and it's exciting to see what's going to happen for these dudes.
Yeah. And like I said, Nick stepped in there, and, that couldn't have been easy.
No.
But the great thing about this performance is it was 4 guys that were Screaming Red Mutiny.
Yeah.
There was no one, they didn't bring in anyone new. Mike, had left and he came back for this performance, and Nick moved over to guitar.
Yeah.
And as they move forward in the future, Nick's going to take that guitar role, and they're looking for a new bassist as we speak.
That's right.
And so I was so glad to see Mike up there, another time.
That's right.
And, Nick, obviously every guitarist has a different style, or a different way they do things or whatever, but he obviously, it sounded like Screaming Red Mutiny.
Yes,
so
he killed
knew what he was doing.
That's right.
And let's just play their music right now.
That's right.
Let's just do it. Okay, this is the first track off of Encumbered We Press, Stronger Structure.
Crawling in the darkness, looking for a way out of all the madness that's inside. Forgot what
Stronger Structure from Screaming Red Mutiny. That's the lead-off track on Encumbered We Press. All 6 of these songs are great, and we've actually played a couple of other ones here in the past on the podcast. Hand Grenade Serenade was the first single they put out. We played that like right after it came out, and that's actually one that we were fortunate enough to see John record in the studio.
Yeah, we were there when he recorded it. It was an honor.
And we played, I can't remember off the top of my head what the other song, I think it was probably Beyond the River Rising, because that's my favorite track on this album. And they played that live the other night, and, you know, Sprout even kind of mentioned that it takes on a new meaning, I guess, now for him. And it's an honor to have been in the crowd for this show, not just for Screaming Red Mutiny, but the whole thing. And we haven't mentioned the name Steve Murdoch yet, which we need to.
Yeah.
Because this was kind of, you know, he spearheaded this, and I know that other people, of course, got involved to pull this thing off. I think this was pretty much him getting this going.
Yeah.
And growing it into what it was.
Yeah, he busted his ass, and, you know, all kudos to him for sure.
Yeah. And Sunshine from Axis made a lot of phone calls and got a lot of stuff in there. And there was tons of items, you know, for a silent auction. And there's actually, if you're able to go this Saturday, there's going to be several more things out there. There's I think there was 3 guitars that are being signed by every member of all the bands that play both days.
Nice.
So you've got 24 bands worth of signatures on there.
Yeah.
And those auctions, you know, started Saturday and go through this coming Saturday. And there's several other items. There was stuff from the likes of, you know, Slash, Drowning Pool, First Strike, Seven Dust, Hinder, Bon Jovi, Crowbar. You know, tons of stuff. You know, Screaming Red Mutiny even had stuff, and Drumheads. You know, so it's just cool memorabilia, and all the money goes towards, you know, Casey Holata. And, you know, that was another thing to mention. She was up there up front during Screaming Red Mutiny's performance.
Yeah.
You know, she was able to make it out there, and they willed her right up front, so she got to see it firsthand. And as far as I know, I think she'll be back here this coming Saturday, because they're doing a Joint Effect tribute show.
Yeah.
And who else do we have?
Old Man, Stanley's Revenge, Steam Shovel, Altar Blood, Social Genocide, which I think John would help them out on bass every now and then.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think so. Custom Black, Not in Public, Guitar Dave, Gunnar and Sebastian. So come on out. It's going to be another insane night.
Yeah. Did you say Oklahombres?
Oklahombres. I think so. I think you said it.
Okay.
But Oklahombres is going to be there for sure.
Yeah. Steve Ray, man. What can you say? Can't say enough good things about that guy either.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm going to go see that shit.
You know, I'd love to mention names that people ran into, but I'd forget, 48 of them, and I don't want to be a dick. So, you know who you are. We saw you. We love you, and hope to see you again this Saturday.
Yep, good times.
Well, next up, good news and bad news. We've got Truckfighters to talk about. We saw them at Downtown Lounge.
Yes, we did.
And the bad news is Downtown Lounge is closing down.
I know. That's a sad thing.
Yeah, this is a place that we kind of latched on to since we started this podcast place. And anytime we'd go to shows at the Canes or
Brady
or BOK, we'd always get down there, do pregame there, or whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
And then, we've been in there, seen several shows there, and interviewed a lot of guys coming through there. And, Jake runs the place, and he's always been more than accommodating to us. And
yeah. Got to mention, he's let us, use the place for podcasts. He's let us use Nextdoor. He'll just, sit there and BS with us, before we go see Steve Vai or Iron Maiden or something.
Right.
I mean, it's gonna be sad to see this place go.
Yeah. I saw him make a post or comment on someone's thing that they're looking for other places, but that's not guaranteed. So hopefully that works out, for them and for us.
Yeah, we'll see.
But their last day is March 29th. So if you're in the Tulsa area, get out there as much as you can for the next month and a half. March 6th, He Is Legend is returning.
Yeah.
So that's a great time to get out there as well. That'll be, knocking the walls down with that one for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's going to be a few other shows, and, he's even mentioned, if you have a band and you want to play that stage, you got a month and a half to contact them and get it done. you know, because that's just a kick-ass place to see a show, you know. It's like, it's so compact, but it sounds so great, you know, and it's just the way it's set up, you know, I just really dug it. And
yeah, it's the greatest.
Well, speaking of truck fighters, that show out there, they had King's Destroy on tour with them, and Redwitch Johnny.
Yeah.
And Redwitch Johnny, that's another band that, you know, we've mentioned several times great things about, because they're different than a lot of, you know, your typical hard rock or metal bands. You know? They've got this real throwback, you know, kind of deep purple feel. Mm-hmm. And it's just one of those bands that you kind of, when you're watching them live, you get lost in it, because, you know, it's just so much, you know, passion going into what they're doing. And I just can't say enough good things about them. And that's a band that we've talked about and haven't got on here yet. You know, we'd love to get them on here at some point.
Yeah, we need to, for sure.
Yeah. And King's Destroy was really good. You know, I didn't know much about them before this, but they really, you know, they kicked ass and threw it down. And then, of course, Truckfighters.
Yeah.
If, like I said at the beginning of this thing, you got to look these guys up.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'd even, when we talked to Oskar, I'd even mention, you know, how are you guys going to, on this small of a stage, you know, because they're always kind of intense, especially Dango, you know, he's always
jumping around.
Yeah, just going nuts, you know, and you see performances like at Vakken or some festival, you know, he's got this whole stage to go nuts on, but Downtown Lounge is a pretty tight space, and he still went nuts. I mean, he didn't go apeshit, but he was still hopping up and down, jumping back and forth, you know, because, you know, it's only 3 of them, so there's still a little room.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
But yeah, it's just a kick-ass band, you know, and they played several tracks from the new album, 5, and I assume it's called 5.
Yeah.
It's the Roman numeral V. And, you know, a lot of old stuff, you know, that Live in London album is just so badass, you know.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a great listen.
Yeah, and you can't go wrong with these guys at any level, you know. They're Gravity X, going way back, you know, just everything about them. I'm just a huge fan of this. The first time I saw them live was at Rocklahoma in 2014.
Yeah.
They're one of the bands that, like, kicked off the side stage at Rocklahoma at 3 o'clock. You know, so there wasn't a huge crowd over there, but there was a little bit. But I made sure to get over there because I really wanted to see them. And if you told me, you know, we've been to all 10 Rocklahomas, and so seen countless bands out there. If you told me to make my top 10 list of bands I've seen out there, they would be on that list.
Yes.
Of performances. Just
nice.
Because it was that, you know, I hadn't seen them live at that point, so I'm seeing, you know, Dango up there going nuts, you know, and just the kind of raw fuzziness power that comes from these guys. And so I was instantly a fan from that point. So glad to be able to see him in the DTL space as well.
Yeah, and glad to get to talk to him.
Yeah.
And you know, I think we mentioned this, we talked about this in the interview, but go look up their video for Calm Before the Storm.
Right.
It's crazy. It's pretty deep.
Yeah, I hadn't seen that, and like the day before we talked to him, you asked me if I'd seen that yet, and told me to go look it up, and I was just expecting some typical music video. And
no.
You know, we're talking 8.5 minute, you know, movie here.
Yeah,
basically.
I mean, it's pretty intense.
Yeah.
Go look it up.
Yeah, definitely. Well, like I mentioned earlier, if this is your first time listening, we appreciate it. www.thethunderunderground.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, all that great stuff. We'll tell you all that here when we come back. But I think it's time we get into this. This here is Oskar Cedermalm, vocalist, bassist of the Truckfighters. How was Golden Corrall? Saw you guys went there earlier today.
Yeah, we like it. We think it's awesome. Maybe not like top quality food, but it's cheap and it's got some nice stuff as well.
Yeah, we used to go there all the time when I was a kid, but I just got so burned out on it. I hadn't been there in years.
Yeah, I can imagine. A lot of American dudes just, are you going there?
They have They had the fountain of chocolate.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
oh my god.
Yeah, I didn't take that. I tried to stay away from the unhealthy stuff.
Nice, nice. Okay.
Well, how many? I know you guys got a lengthy U.S. run going. How many cities or cities you've never hit before?
Ooh, that's
Or a
that's
good chunk
tough.
of them?
Yeah, I think on this run probably at least 4 or 5. A few in Canada and a few here in the States.
Okay.
But for me, it's so hard to remember the town. I know I've been in Tulsa before, but it's not until I get here that yeah, that's right, downtown lounge. Okay, now I remember.
Yeah.
So hard to remember exactly the town and the venue, connected to the name of the town.
But do you guys have is there anywhere in America that you've got always has a good crowd, good reaction kind of thing that you played?
Yeah, a few places, but mostly on this run, it's been good everywhere, actually. All the shows been really good attendance-wise, so that's awesome. In the past, we've seen like Chicago been good, New York been really good, Philadelphia, and then we had a few. Like we played in Texarkana, that was not so good. So but it's a big country, so it can differ a lot, of course.
Yeah. We'll talk about the the differences between European and American crowds and that kind of thing.
Yeah. I don't notice that much difference.
Yeah.
Not these days, at least, because now we always have a chunk of people who know who we are, who kind of are into the music and rocks out. But maybe in the past, when we were a more unknown band, that people were a little bit more reserved at certain places. But I think that's even out now, when it's almost the same everywhere.
Well, I notice, when you see a lot of like festivals in Europe compared to here, people seem way more overall, no matter what band it is, way more active crowd-wise maybe than they do in America. But that just might be the stuff I've seen, I guess.
Yeah, that might be the overall idea, or how do you say it? But I think we're blessed. Truckfighters are blessed with having a really good audience crowd here in the States as well.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
Yeah, I was actually I'd heard you guys a long time ago, but then when I saw you at Rocklahoma in like 2014, was kind of when I got completely exposed to it. And
all right.
So
Cool.
I guess, festivals like that do work.
Yeah, it's and in Europe we have so many. Like in Germany, each city or smaller village has their own festival. It can be like 2,000 people festivals, but here in the States it's not that common, that I know of, at least.
Yeah.
So that of course that spreads the name better and easier.
Right. Well, the new album's been out a few months now, so I'm, looking back now that it's been out, like, how do you think it sets with the rest of your catalog? It fits in and everything.
Hopefully it doesn't fit in entirely.
Yeah.
Since we're aiming on doing something different every time.
Right.
But of course you can hear that it's still Truckfighters. We don't change that much. We're still the same persons, and Dango uses his big muff as usual. So, but we try to do something a little bit different. But I think that's mainly because we want to feel fresh and feel excited about what we do, and not get stuck into the same thing all over again. I see too many bands do the same album over and over again, and it gets boring, both for them and for the people who listen to it.
Yeah, there is a lot of that for sure.
Well, Well, I noticed. I mean, this new one, you can tell it's Truckfighters, but it's got a lot more kind of darker stuff, little atmospheric stuff than the previous stuff. Is that just natural progression, or is that something you guys kind of try to do? Or?
No, it's just natural. What we feel like doing. It's nothing that we plan or think about.
Was it hard to like mix some of those songs in with the older stuff that's more kind of straight ahead, your stoner fuzz kind of stuff? Or is the set list like something where you guys don't really think about it too much?
We mix, but as you said, maybe in the past it was a little bit more rocking out set that we played. More like fast forward kind of songs that were easier to interact to. Now it's a little bit more complicated, and but we like it, and it's nice. Then the crowd can get a little bit of air and like relax a little bit between the softer parts in the songs. And
yeah.
But it's difficult to do the sets these days, since we have so many songs to choose from, and to build the sets in a nice way as well.
Well, you guys are pretty active on stage. Like how does that work on a stage like this, where it's a little more compact?
We knew that was coming.
We'll see about that.
Yeah.
Yesterday I actually knocked my bass in my head. No, that was 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Accidentally, of course, but when you're rocking out and just suddenly the screw of the head just knocked me in the ear. I'm a little bit sore, but usually we know where we have each other.
Does that make you lose your place for a second? Like
yeah, it hurt as hell. It was that was hurtful.
We'll talk about the Calm Before the Storm. The video I thought was just like, it just blew me away.
Yeah.
There's the content, and then and at one point there's like, it's all in reverse. Did that come from you, or was that like a treatment that you were given? I'm just super curious on that deal.
Yeah, we actually found this guy who was really eager to do the video, and we told him about what the song was about, and he came up with he filmed everything and came up with this idea to do the reverse thing and do like a storyline, more or less, like a mini movie about it. And we thought it was a great idea, but then we didn't see that much until the finished product. But I think it's a nice and it's a heavy video, but it's nicely done. It's really professional and good looking, if you can say so.
Yeah, it is pretty epic for sure.
Yeah,
it's almost like a short film, since the song is so long,
Yeah,
it's a great calling card.
Yeah, I like it, and it's good that people get affected by it, both good and bad. A lot of people were angry, but that's also good, because then they care about these things more, I guess.
Yeah, well, that brings awareness to that kind of situation.
Yeah, it does.
Definitely.
So then it's something good.
yeah, definitely.
I guess.
Yep.
Well, with like the Live in London album, you guys, when you listen to it, it really captures, what you guys do live, and I thought that was really good, because you can always see that when you're watching a DVD or video footage. But when you're listening to audio, sometimes a band's intensity doesn't come across as well. And I mean, is that something that just you're lucky because you guys are that good, or do you think is that something you guys strive for with the audio?
You mean do it a little bit different, or?
Yeah, I mean, did you like focus on it knowing this is being recorded, or is it just go out there and do your thing?
No, we knew it was going to be recorded, and we had the plans to maybe do something about it or with it, and it turned out to be quite good. So we we did something with it. But we only recorded one show, so it was could also gone in another direction. Like this might not be good enough. But so I'm not saying we're like we have our moments that are good and moments that are less good, but we try to be as little less good as possible.
Right.
Try to focus and give people what they come to see, of course.
Well, is that something when it's done, there's not like any touch-ups or anything like that like you used to hear on a lot of live records?
No.
Or is it just straight raw?
No, it's raw. It's just the one guitar, bass, vocal, drums. That's it. No dubs or anything.
Cool. Well, I was curious, what is your involvement with Fuzzorama Records?
Yeah, it's me and Niklas Dango, aka Dango, who runs the label.
Oh, okay.
So that's how it's been from the start.
Okay.
So we kind of got tired of sending demos everywhere. So we thought, hey, let's release this ourselves instead. But we had the intention to be a real label as well. We didn't just want to be a demo band releasing an album and then suddenly we're an album artist. We had the intention to release other stuff and like build a label, find good distribution, do it for real. So we did that, or tried to do that for years. And now we have a good setup, and it seems to run good.
So is it you two that choose all the bands that are going to be on the label as well?
Yeah.
Is it are several of them ones you guys specifically found, or people come to you?
It's both. I mean, sometimes people send demos, and sometimes we find something. But we got a lot of demos, and it's a lot of not good demos as well. But it's also hard if you find something that is good, but they are completely unknown, like played live once or something. It's hard to sign them, even though.
And you probably got to go through a ton of bad just to find one good. Yeah.
But usually you hear it quite fast. You listen like 10, 15 seconds. If it's really bad, you hear.
You know, just yeah.
But we try to listen to everything and give feedback.
Well, with the new album being distributed by Century Media, was that something you guys sought out to give it bigger distribution, or did they come to you?
The idea was that we don't really have time to do everything that we would like to do. It takes a lot of time to release an album of that caliber, like spread it out. And so the idea we had from the start was maybe to hire someone to Fuzzorama to like make that our label a little bit bigger and release it on Fuzzorama. But it was hard to find someone just like that who can do a bit of everything, because we can't hire just one guy for web, one guy for that, and one. We only can afford to have one guy who can do everything. And we didn't find one, and Century Media was interested in us and told us, yeah, this is awesome, we're going to invest money and do something with this. So we signed to them, but we'll see. I don't want to talk too much shit about them, but I think we would have done a really good job at Fuzzorama as well.
Yeah, all good. Yeah.
And we might go back there in the future. We'll see what happens with the next record. Something goes better.
Well, we've had a couple other bands on from Sweden in the past, and we've asked them, like, what do you think is... There's so many great bands, you know, that we know of here in America that have come out of Sweden. It seems like every band I hear from Sweden is just great. Mm-hmm. Like, what do you think is it that all these different genres of rock and metal that caused so many of these bands, like the music culture there, to be so great.
Yeah. Oh. It might have something to do with that we have government-funded rehearsal spaces. I don't know if you heard about it, but
Yes. Yep.
it's easy and quite
we've heard
cheap
that, yeah.
to get somewhere to rehearse. And also we have maybe we don't have that good live culture in Sweden, so a lot of band has to go to Germany or Austria or like Central Europe to tour to get the experience.
Yeah.
And then you need to be even more determined to do your thing and do it good and like work harder.
Yeah.
It's not that easy for Swedish band to get somewhere, so we need to work harder. I mean, here in the States, you can be an American band and just tour the States, and you're fine with that. And maybe that's you need to have a little bit more push to get better and evolve.
Yeah.
There's a lot of theories, but I have no idea actually.
Cool, man. Well, we appreciate your time.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah. There you go, Oskar from the Truckfighters. Thank you to him for taking the time out to talk to us there before that show. Can't say enough good things about him as a person, this band, their live show, their recorded stuff. Like you said, their music videos.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, just pull up, you know, get on YouTube and pull up Live at Vakken or something, you know. It's just...
Yeah, you can't go wrong.
Yeah, it's like... We've mentioned this as well, and I kind of mentioned, I guess, in the podcast, in the interview there as well, but Sweden is just like a plethora. You know, we could sit here and list off 16 bands probably without even thinking, making a pause, you know, and every one of them is superior to every band you like.
That's right. Yeah, if they're Swedish, they rule.
Yeah, it doesn't even matter what style of metal or
That's
rock
right.
it is, you know, it's just...
It's going to be badass.
Yeah. I don't know what it is, what's in the water, but like him and Johannes from Avatar said, it's probably that, you know, music is part of everybody's life from a young age.
Yeah,
you know?
that's what it is.
Yeah. Well, TheThunderUnderground.com. Facebook is /TheThunderUnderground. We're on YouTube at The Thunder Underground. We've got reaction stuff on YouTube to Metallica, Avenged Sevenfold, Black Sabbath, Rocklahoma, stuff like that. We're on Twitter, THNDRUNDR Ground, SoundCloud.com /Thunder-Underground. 107 previous episodes. We've had on guys from The Sword, Spirit Caravan, Crowbar, Corrosion and Conformity, Soil, Death Angel, Drowning Pool, Avatar, Warrant, Trickster, Europe, Great White, Battlecross, Scattered Hamlet.
Super Joint.
There you go. That was the last episode.
Super Joint. We've had guys from Act of Defiance, Megadeth. Did you say that already?
I don't think I did. I usually lead with that because it's like some Megadeth.
I mean, we've got all kinds of stuff going on.
Yeah, so just get on there, SoundCloud.com /Thunder-Underground. Peruse through there. Click play on a lot of those. Hope you dig it.
You just wanted to say peruse.
Yeah, I don't think we've said that in the past 107 episodes.
Well, let's start.
Right? Start every week. We'll try to fit that in every week. And 102.7 or 1027 WSNR.com.
Yes.
Listen to us there every Monday night, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. And of course, you can download the CryKey Premium Radio app. It's got tons of radio stations on there. Pull that thing up and go to the 102.7 frequency. Rock music all day long. You know, everything from Rainbow to Vanilla Women. Who we we played their song a few weeks ago when we had Jason Todd. You know,
right.
He used to be
Jason
in
Todd. That was great.
Yeah, he used to be in Shinedown. Now he's in Vanilla Women. That's another one you need to check out. Just a great rock band. All right, well, I think it's time to go.
That's it.
All right, until next time.
Thunder Underground, y'all.